Hey, Pretty Girl Club. I wanted to talk about the obsession with Nicolandria. A lot of monocultural black women who have not dealt with the white community a lot. They're putting Nick on a pedestal. Let's actually talk about who Nick is. Number one, Nick actually had a racist post on his TikTok. There was a post of him and one of his friends dissecting an animal, and then he put hashtag Chinese. So in the TikTok clip, they were dissecting a cat. You know how there's that stereotype that Asian people eat cats and dogs. So it's hilarious how when it comes to people like Sierra, you know how she got canceled or whatever because she said she gets Botox because her eyes look chinky. Yet I don't see the same energy for white male Nick when it comes to calling out his internalized racism. Okay, so let's erase that. Let's pretend that didn't happen. With Nick, what I didn't like about him was he literally jumped from girl to girl. He just came off as very sleazy, very horny for anybody. He came off as the type of guy that will just take any girl that will be with him. So once it didn't work out with all four of those women, then once he got eliminated, basically, once he's on the border of getting kicked off the show, then suddenly he says to Olandria, oh, well, I've always had feelings for you and I've always wanted to explore. Black women, what happened to the talking point of if he wanted to, he would? What happened to wanting to be pursued? What happened to the hypergamy talking points? So you're telling me that because somebody's white, that they don't have to follow any of that? I guess it's okay for him to go and fuck other women first. Oh, and by the way, they talk a lot about how they don't want to be the first black woman that a white man has been with. Have you ever heard that talking point? They'll be like, oh, I don't want to be his dark-skinned experiment. I don't want to be his black experiment. Okay, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's exactly how Nick is coming off. Look at all of the women that he was hitting on before during the show. Why did he feel safe pursuing those women and then he never pursued Olandria like that? And then there was also a clip where Olandria was like, oh, well, you know, you had a lot going on. You had a lot of women interested in you. So Olandria also admitted that she basically felt like Nick wouldn't like her. So you're telling me that that's the energy that black women are supposed to settle for? So all of this talk about being classy and I don't go on coffee dates and he needs to make sure that he prefers dark-skinned black women, all of that is out the window. That's why I don't take any of these talking points seriously, because you're literally celebrating a woman who got picked in 5th place. She got picked 5th on the show. Because again, if he wanted to, he would. If he truly saw Olandria's value from the beginning, he wouldn't have waited until after 4 other girls with completely different phenotypes. So after all those 4 girls didn't work out, after all those 4 like brunettes basically didn't work out, then he goes to the 5th choice, which is Olandria. So is that what black women are supposed to settle for now? You're supposed to celebrate being the 5th choice? And you know how they say how you get them is how you'll lose him? Okay, so if you got a man based on him feeling like he had no other options, and, you know, him wanting to stay in the house, that was literally, those were his options. Either leave the villa and go back home, or stay in the house and just figure out some sort of dating scenario with Olandria. Was putting her in the friend zone. And then I see some people saying, oh, well, Olandria put him in the friend zone. Okay, still. He sure had no problem being in Olandria's friend zone while fucking Sierra and making out with Bella. Even his own parents called him out. I actually really like Nick's family, but even his own parents called him out for his trashy behavior. Did you guys catch that? His parents kind of remind me of like my background. His parents called him out and said, why did you do that? Like, why are you just sleeping around? Like, basically, we raised you better than that. I don't put people on a pedestal because they're white. I don't say that somebody's high value because they're white. Also, what happened to the hypergamy talking point? Nick is in his 20s and he's a nurse. Do you think that he makes $500K a year? You think he's a millionaire? What happened to all these women talking about, oh, hard wigs, soft life, black women in luxury? If Nick and Olandria were to get married today, I don't believe they're ever going to get married, but let's say they were to get married right now. Do you think that Olandria would be living a multi-million-dollar lifestyle? No. The fame that the Love Island cast has right now, it's at its highest peak right now because there is no other season of Love Island USA right now. But as soon as the next season of Love Island comes out, as soon as the new cast comes in on Love Island USA, all of these cast members today, their brand deals may decline a little bit. You know, kind of their fame, their visibility might decline a little bit. So if Olandria and Nick were to get married, she would be put in a Barbara the Builder position. It would be more of a 50-50. That's really the vibe that they give me. It's a 50-50 vibe. You're doing brand deals together. Okay, so you're both employees together. It's not like he's just coming out of the gate providing. This guy he was a nurse. He's a nurse in his mid-20s. How much money do you think a male nurse makes in their mid-20s? So they just graduated college a couple years ago. Oh, and did I mention the fact that Nick was basically homeless? Yeah. I bet the Black community didn't look that up. So that's how I know that they're just pedestalizing whiteness. Nick before was in Jacksonville, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And his lease ended in Florida right before he went into the villa. And then when he got back, he was kind of looking for apartments. And I guess he was trying to find somewhere to live, like in LA, or he just recently moved to LA. So you're telling me that a man who is between homes. So this is the definition of hypergamy? So for the people romanticizing their relationship when they were like, oh, they were in Greece together. I believe that was the brand deal thing. I'm not quite sure though. Okay, who paid for Olandria to go to Greece? Who paid for her meals while she was there? Who paid for her hotel while she was there? If it was the brand, that's not Nick providing for Olandria. That's the brand providing for Olandria because they want to make money off of her image. So that's not even the same thing. That's not the same as providing. That's not the same as Nick coming out of his pocket. Remember, Nick didn't have a place to live. So do you really think that Nick has the means to take Olandria to Greece and to pay for every single expense while she's there? And then for the people saying, oh, well, with Nick's post, with his racist post about Chinese people, trying to imply that Chinese people eat cats, he was a kid when he said that. No, actually, he was 18 years old, so that's technically an adult. Dating a woman who's Black, that doesn't cancel out your behaviors. Dating a woman who's Black and dark-skinned, that doesn't make you some Prince Charming or some savior. Why is everybody looking to Nick as some sort of savior figure for Olandria as if she can't stand on her own 2 feet? That is actually internalized colorism. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are into politics, Nick is a registered Republican and he was living in Florida. So Florida has a reputation amongst unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. Florida has a reputation for being racist and colorist, texturist, featurist, anti-Black. Okay, well, Nick lived in Florida and was a registered Republican. So for those of you who don't like Trump and all that, I know that a lot of unambiguous Black women do not like Trump or kind of like Republican culture. So notice how that's all being thrown out the window. Also, you can have a boyfriend or live vicariously through Olandria and Nick. Oh, not to mention the fact that most of Nicolandria's fans, they don't look like Olandria. All you have to do, go on Olandria's Instagram right now and go click on all the profiles of the people standing Nicolandria. Go click on those women's profiles. They look nothing like Olandria. They don't have her body type. They don't have her straight white teeth. They don't have her makeup skills or her fashion skills. So they're still living vicariously through women that they don't look like. Olandria seems a lot more mature than Nick, just emotionally. She seems more mature than Shelly and Taylor. And that's why I said she shouldn't have even been around them, and I don't think she should be around Nick. So it's what are their conversation topics? Nick is a registered Republican. He's from Florida. He made stereotypes about Chinese people eating cats. He literally tried to hit on 4 other women besides Olandria. He fucked Sierra on national TV, then tried to double back to Olandria. So it's what do they have in common? So is this the new standard for hypergamy? And by the way, hypergamy where? Where's the hypergamy? Where is all of Nick's money? This is how I know that a lot of the women who are promoting Interracial dating, oftentimes it's literally they're just pedestalizing whiteness, because when it actually comes down to it, a lot of women will promote just getting with any attractive white man who gives you attention. Everything else goes out the window. His dating history goes out the window, him having a history of liking opposite women. If Nick would have been black, let's talk about this. Let's say Nick and Taylor switched places. Let's say Nick would have been black. Do you think people would perceive him the same? If he showed sexual interest in 4 other women who are not dark skinned, not black, and then tried to go back to Olandria, if Nick would have been black, people would be calling him Dusty all up and down the internet.